just in case you had any doubts.
Mhm. And we are unmuted as well.
Okay, so it's 6 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and start the work session. Can everybody hear me okay? Thumbs up, whatever it takes. Can y'all hear me? Okay. Are there any changes to this agenda?
There are none.
Okay. So work session items, folks, we've got Carleton's Fire Chief, Terry Lusich, here this evening to give us some updates and some ideas on what's going on in that department. Chief Lusich. You're muted.
I know. How's that? Is that better?
Sounds good, Terry. Thanks.
I was saying, let me unmute here. Not much has changed since last week, Chuck, except that it's gotten hotter and we've had more fires here recently. We're seeing into July weather right now, so I can only imagine what it's going to be like at the end of August. Usually is when our peak fire season has been around here lately. So it's getting pretty hot and dry, and there's been a few calls. Statewide, I sent out some information to Shannon on fires in the state over the last 20, 30 years, and there's been some significant increase in the large number of fires through Oregon, but we have been kind of slow to change and ramp up. But this year, everybody is pretty nervous, very nervous. And last week, I had a meeting with people at the coast, Poor County area, Polk, Tillamook, and Lincoln County, trying to get some mutual aid agreement. They suffered some pretty significant fire loss last year. And the sad part was that they were the last ones to have a fire. And so there was no resources available for them. So they, even though the state kind of picked up the cost, there was no resources like you'd think. So they're trying to avoid that, be a little proactive and trying to avoid that type of situation. As we look back over some of the information that we've had over the past few years, this shouldn't be a surprise to us. It's been kind of documented clear back in 2009 that these kind of fires were coming and stuff was going to change. Again, in Carleton, we don't have a real exposure per se. If a fire gets started, wildland fire, it's going to come from the outside, come to the inside. If it catches one house on fire, then we could be, and the wind's right, it could be a different story. We have some drainages that come through this city down by the parks, Han Creek and stuff like that. So there's a buildup of material on there that could burn. And if the wind's right, driving it could get into the city. The railroad right of way, which we're working on, is another way that a large fire can get into the city and cause catastrophic problems. But we're trying to alleviate that problem. The most important thing is a couple of key things that people should be concerned about. They should get on one of the county evacuation notices websites, sign up so that they can be notified if there is a problem, kind of an all incident, all hazard type system that the county has. You can get your name on that, sign up with your cell phone, and you can get information on evacuations. And so that would be very important, or any other disaster for that matter. Also, Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue up in Beaverton has a notification system, and we're very close to them geographically. So those to get on a notification system. You know, the county says it's a good one. The other thing, you know what the evacuation means. 1, 2, 3. You know, 1 is get ready, 2 is get set, and 3 is get the heck out of there. So, you know, I've been through some of those things, and they are chaotic. So if somebody says evacuation and you're in zone 1, you need to get going, start moving, start packing, back your car in, load your stuff up, and get ready to go. Figure out what you're going to do with your animals, your kids, that kind of stuff. Figure out what's important. And, you know, they say, get out of there, get out of there. Because everybody in the world is going to be trying to do the same thing. So it's going to get complicated. The police are going to be very busy. If it's on the weekend, you know, they're going to be shorthanded. You know, a holiday weekend, there might be more people, but they are not going to be able to go door to door and remove people. And that's the other thing. If you have people that are bedridden, or they need to plan ahead, or an invalid, or confusion, Alzheimer's, dementia in home, those people need to do more planning than the rest of us, because there's not going to be a lot of people there to come and rescue you, because they'll all be busy. Make plans is what I'm trying to say. Make a plan if you're challenged. The other thing, I think the most important thing, is prepare your home. Defensible space, we talk about that all the time. You know, you want to make sure that your roof is clean, get the leaves off of there, trim your trees so they don't touch your house, move the bushes away from your house. Bark dust looks good, but it burns really well, you know, so think about that. Mow the grass around your house, the dead grass, get it down. Grass burns really good if it's standing up and it's tall, but if it's mowed down, it goes pretty slow. So remember that. You know, if there's a field next to your house or something, mow it down. That's why we have mowing regulations in Carlton, is to slow down the fire. Plus it looks better. Okay. Store your flammables away from your house. You know, the wood pile, don't stack it next to your house. Move it away from your house. Lawn furniture, don't put it next to your house. Put it out, away from the house. Remove any tree limbs that are close to your chimney. And if you have a long driveway, trim it up. The trees along the driveway so people can get in. You need about 14 foot of clearance, 12 feet on the sides, and you know, make sure you can see around that. If you want to get your house, you know, give your house a fighting chance, do those things and trim it, clean up your road, your access road, because fire people are not going to risk their lives on a house that's the driveway is overgrown. There's too many other houses that could be saved if they have that defensible space and have a driveway for an exit. You know, most houses in a fire do not burn when the fire goes through. It's more of an insidious kind of thing. A spark lands, catches in the wood pile, catches the plastic swimming pool that's stored underneath the deck. Something like that. The leaves around the chimney, and it gets in there, starts going, nobody's around, and then it burns and takes out the house. But usually the fire front doesn't take out the house. It's the insidious spark, or the fire burns along some dried limbs or something like this. So that's what gets you. So if you want to watch an interesting video, about 3 or 4 years ago, there's a video of a fire in McMinnville, a wheat field fire next to some houses. Watch that video. It's on YouTube. It should scare the daylights out of you, because it could happen here. Anyway, That's all I got. Defensible space. Mow your lawn.
It looks like we have a question. Guillermo, did you have a question for Chief Lusich?
I didn't raise my hand, but I do have a question.
Oh, okay. There's a little red hand raised thing up there, so.
Yeah, you saw the future. I was gonna ask you, Terry, do we have any automatic system for text messages, even if we don't sign up for anything here in Carlton?
Not that I'm aware of. That's a good question, but the county's system is the only, they'll send you text messages. Check with Tualatin Valley, they have a system. I'm sure they'll send you a text message if you want Texas.
Okay, I was just wondering because they had the thing in Hawaii, the missile thing.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
just wondering if we have any type of like similar systems that would send text messages.
I don't know. I would check around. I'm not, you know, I'm kind of wired in my own little world, so I don't know about the outside world, quite honestly.
And my other question is, do we have any type of sirens, like very loud siren
We
in
do.
town?
We used to. We have not put them up because most neighbors find them annoying at 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning or 9 o'clock at night. So we haven't.
I mean, for emergencies, not for.
Well,
Right.
every fire is an emergency, so it would go off about 300 times a year.
Yeah.
So we are sensitive to our neighbors' needs, and we haven't put it back up since we moved to the news station.
Okay,
Okay.
Council President Mullen, you have a question?
Yeah, Terry, I have two questions. I came into the meeting like 3 minutes late, so you may have said this before I joined the meeting. But are you recommending that we consider a burn ban here in Carlton?
I
When do you
did.
say that?
I did. I have brought that up in Lafayette, where I'm also the chief, you know, and it's, you know, in this day and age, I think if you can burn a burn pile, and it's only for yard debris. This is where the rub always comes. It's just yard debris. That's naturally occurring stuff. You know, people accuse their neighbor of burning garbage and plastic and everything else and couches, you know, and stuff like this. It's only for backyard debris, and you can recycle to that in McMinnville. Also, you know, they started that years ago when people had 10,000, 15,000 square foot lots, you know, and nowadays you got 8,000 or 6,000 square foot lots. There's not a lot of room there to have a fire, you know. This, I'm not talking about banning your backyard pit, you know. I'm talking about burning yard debris that the smoke goes over to your neighbors or catches your neighbor's fence on fire or something like this. I'm just saying that maybe that's something the council could look at, and you know, but it certainly would reduce the risk. I mean, most of your fires are caused by human activity.
Right. So the second question is, do you consider this year, I mean, you're saying you're very worried about fire danger this year. Is the situation much more dire if you were to put it on a scale of, you know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? I mean,
I think I sent some statewide, I sent some information out to the Shannon, the city manager, and I hope she shares that with you. It shows the progression of large fires in the state over the last 30 years, 20 to 30 years. And more of the state is turning red, not less of it. So yes, it is increasing.
Councilor Erickson, you had a question or two.
Well, yeah, like Shirley, I have two questions.
So I guess the first one, you had mentioned about the old railroad bed. So what are we doing to clear that? Or is the city doing anything there? Or what exactly were you meaning on that? And then you also talked about Pond Creek, you know, a typical creek area, you get trees that fall and die and pile up over years and years. Is that something that the city should be taking care of, clean up, or is that a volunteer public thing?
I do. Han Creek, I don't know how much you can do because that's government regulation on a waterway or something that might need to be addressed first. I was just pointing out that that's an avenue for in the right conditions with the fuels and the hot weather that fire could creep into the city. Just as for instance, an example. The railroad right of way is something we can do a little bit more about. Shannon and I have been writing emails and back and forth to the county commissioners and anybody else that'll listen to us. Last week, one of the parks guys came out and took a look at it, and Shannon walked with them along the railroad bed there. So you might ask her. They said they're going to clean it up, but you know, we'll see.
Now they said the city said they'll clean it up, or the county?
County is the property owner on that, and we can't really go on that because it is private property. And you know, liability wise and anything else you want to throw in there. You know, so it's kind of their responsibility. So they haven't asked us or wanted any help. They just Shannon, jump in here and help me out on this one.
So we've been very open with the county about possible options and partnerships to make sure that that trail gets cleared very efficiently this month. And so they're going back and reviewing the options, and then they're going to get back in touch with us and discuss next steps. And at that point in time, we'll know more about whether or not we can help and assist in that clearing, or if they've got the resources to do it on their own.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Were you done, Grant, with questions?
Yeah, I'm good. That helps.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chief Lusich, Shannon was wondering if you wanted to share this, if you wanted her to share the slides that you had.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They've got it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I have more.
Here we go.
Just going to the meeting.
Oh, here.
There's the drought outlook for this year, and that's you can see that a lot of the state is orange, red. Those are the real dry spots. I think the only place that's in good shape in the state is the Northeast, where they get a lot of snow. But even in our area where it's traditionally not a problem is in the yellows. But again, Southern Oregon, Southeastern Oregon, along the Cascades, pretty hot and dry out there. And you can see the west of the country where they sit on that. There's your temperature outlook for the year. Looks pretty warm in the Southeast, Phoenix area where my son lives, but Southern Oregon, Eastern Oregon, still warmer than normal. Participation, it's not great. So, relief. This is wildfire potential in May. So usually the wildfire season starts in this area, that Texas, New Mexico, Florida, the South, and then it moves as it gets warmer, it moves to the Northwest. So up through California and the Great Basin, Utah, Nevada, And then it finishes up with us in September, or late August. There we go. There's June. So like I said, it's getting pretty, this is the kind of hot fire potential we usually see in late August. Then we have July, big part of California. More. Okay, this is the one I find interesting. This is the historical large fires in Oregon from 1991 to 2000. Just kind of a smattering of fires that you would expect. Normal. This is 2001, 2010, and that's a 10-year average, but you can see it's getting pretty dark out there. Large fire down there in the southeast, the Biscuit fire along the California-Oregon border, big fire. Some of the others in the Bend and Sisters area up by John Day. And this is last year. And you can see it's just getting bigger, and it's creeping down the east side. I mean, the east side of the Cascades, or the west side of the Cascades. So it's coming over the hill, heading down for the Willamette Valley. So it's just getting bigger. Annoying. So,
we've already had a couple of wildfires in Oregon already, haven't we?
yes, we've had actually probably more than average. But, you know, there's 600, they're down in the southeast, down in Klamath Falls, Medford area right now. But it's more so than normal, so. But still got to go until September. Actually, wildfire season in Oregon last year was pretty laid back until Labor Day, and then it blew up, for lack of a better word. I mean, it really blew up. So we just have to be on our guard the whole time.
Thank you, Chief Lusich. That was, yeah, enlightening, if a little frightening.
All right, we're always looking for volunteers if anybody's interested.
Okay.
Or know somebody.
I will.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
We have another agenda item here that we'll move on to, folks. If you want to go to the page 6 of the work session to discuss curbside collection for glass and yard debris, our new upcoming agreement with Recology. So, Madam Manager.
There was a request that we look into options for glass and yard debris collection. And there were a couple scenarios. We are going to meet with Recology tomorrow, but if council could discuss what scenarios they'd like us to focus on and bring back to council as far as cost impact to our citizens. There's the option for curbside collection for all customers for glass and yard debris, as well as subscription services, and then also a mix of any one of those. So if through this discussion, if we could focus on some options that would narrow our discussion tomorrow, we can make sure to bring those back to council in July.
Okay. Have you all had a chance to look this over and contemplate with, okay, any questions for the city manager? Councilor Mahar.
Not so much as a question, but more of a comment. I think in light of what we just heard, we really should explore that yard debris pickup. I think that's probably the number one I'd like to see some information on.
Yeah, I'm
for all.
Yeah, and I think all of these, do you know, did they indicate if all of these, if they started doing it, it was like buy-in for the entire city?
So there's both options available. So you could require it for all customers, or there's a subscription option for either one. So you could require for all customers glass and yard debris. You could require for all customers yard debris and a subscription glass. You could require just subscription only. And that's, if there's some combinations council would like us to focus on, that would be helpful.
Okay. I know we've had, Counselor Eglin.
Are the rates different depending on what type you take, like by subscription or for all customers?
I
Or do
would,
you
I would need to verify that, but traditionally, yes, because a lot of times if it's for all customers, it's factored in based upon the number of collections. So that can impact the rate versus one individual asking.
Counselor Ward Mullen.
Yeah, I'm thinking, if we consider, based on what we just heard from Chief Lusich about the fire danger in our community, and move to consider a burn ban of yard debris in Carlton, that if that's the case, we really should have yard debris as a, across the board service for customers. The glass, I think, is really dependent on households. So I could imagine that being subscription.
That would, Counselor Skipper.
Hey, yeah, I would like to echo Council President Ward Mullen's statement. I think the glass, would be a subscription, while the yard debris I'd like to see for the entire city, but obviously like to look at what the rates are. Do we know how often the pickup is? Is the yard debris and glass weekly, or is it monthly, or how does that work? Do we know that yet?
It typically goes every other week. So when yard debris is collected, glass is collected the opposite week. I can verify that as well.
Thank you.
Counselor Eglin.
Thank you. Well, I agree with the collection of glass and yard debris. I'd hate to force another fee on our citizens. So I would hope that we would look at that in the rates first, of course.
Counselor Erickson.
So as what Jamie just said, is it possible for each household to then opt in or out if they do or don't want either or? I mean, personally myself, yard debris is something I'd probably do. The glass pickup, I don't need that. And I've heard comments from some of my neighbors that they would really like to see yard debris, which they wouldn't have the problem of the added fee, but may not want the glass. But if you've got a 80-year-old grandma down the street, has a yard service, she doesn't need yard debris pickup. And most likely that would be an extra fee for her that's gonna, probably on a fixed income that would be possibly a hindrance. Is this something that there is open to discuss and talk about?
That would be the subscription methodology for people to opt in and opt out. And as part of the scenarios that were suggested, I could look at a scenario where curbside collection is required for all customers for both services, what it would cost for subscription services for both services, and a combination of all customers receive yard debris, and it's a subscription service for glass. And that would give you at least 3 scenarios to look at and what the cost impact would be to the citizens and anything else that comes up here tonight.
That sounds like a good start.
Yes, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thanks.
Counselor Skipper.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And that's, I guess my question I had was, do they have to be tied together? I see all the options, glass and yard debris are included. Is it possible just to look at the rates for subscribing to yard debris or going citywide and seeing what the impact would be, and just not even talking about glass, or does glass have to come as part of the package?
Glass does not have to be part of the package.
Councilor Brandao.
I was just wondering if there was an option to do something like the garbage day we had, like once a week or something. They would be here and we could drop our yard debris at a certain location in Carlton. Is that something that would be possible for them to do, or do you know, Shannon?
Are you asking to have a dumpster that is more on a permanent basis that they would empty once a week or something, or when it was full? Is that what you're asking for, Councilor?
Doesn't have to be a dumpster necessarily, but more like a day or a certain hours a week that Recology will be here in Carlton to collect those debris, and we will bring it to them at a certain location, like a park or something. I wonder if that would be a cheaper option if it's available.
Like a monthly dump day.
Yeah.
for yard debris.
I can certainly explore that during the meeting tomorrow and update council on what they say.
Yeah, the same thing with the bottles. I know in Japan, for instance, they do that. Like people bring their bottles to a certain location in the city. Like the garbage person doesn't go pick it up necessarily. So I just wonder if it would be more cost effective instead of like going to the whole city, and most people wouldn't have a certain glass or debris or anything. So I just wonder if it would be cheaper and better for them in general.
Okay.
I don't know if, about providing the exact service in Carlton. I do know as part of your rates now, you can go to Recology and take your own yard debris clippings and as part of your rates currently.
Yeah.
Councilor Skipper.
That was the question I was going to ask Shannon to clarify, because in the past, your Carlton residents are not able to dump yard debris without paying a service fee at Greenlands and McMinnville. So my question was, if we sign up either by subscription or whatever, for all customers, do we get those that, you know, normally there's a sticker that goes in your window that allows you the option to haul excess to McMinnville and not be charged for it? I'd like to make sure that that's included as part of the service.
That is something the Recology representative mentioned, and I will further clarify that again, but that is my understanding is that's how it would work, is you would go and get your sticker and you could dump off at the Recology Center as well.
That would be nice. Okay, we're coming to the close up here on the end of this. Does anybody else have any thoughts, comments, questions before we end the discussion? Okay, then I guess.
Okay, so I will look at the 3 scenarios that are in your packet. I will ask about a regular dumpster or collection within the city limits of Carlton. I will also clarify of what is included for citizens to currently go to the Recology centers for yard debris as well as glass, and how that would work. And I will bring that information back in July.
Okay, thank you. Okay, does anybody have any thing they want to add on real quick here for work session? Thoughts, comments, questions? If not, then we're going to move on to the Urban Renewal Agency meeting. This is a public hearing, so I need to.
Because it's a public hearing, do we need to wait till?
We need to wait till 6:45.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. I was going to try to get us through there early. Okay, so the work session is closed and you have 10 minutes to kick back for a little bit, and then we'll start the Urban Renewal Agency hearing. Thanks. Well, just in case you were all wondering, guys, we're calling this meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency to order. Amy, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, I can. Counselor Maher.
I am here.
Thank you. Counselor Egland.
Here.
Counselor Erickson.
Here.
Counselor Brandeo.
Here.
Thank you. Counselor Ward Mullen.
Here.
Counselor Skipper.
Here.
Mayor Watkins.
Here.
Right, all present and accounted for.
Okay, we're going to open this with a public hearing for the Urban Renewal Agency budget for 2021-22. Are there any, before we start, let's see, are there any comments, citizen comments, or are there any citizens who have read through this and have any questions or comments about the budget? Hearing no questions, I'm turning this over to Christy Martinez to take care of the explanation.
Thank you, Mayor Watkins. The budget before you was approved by the Budget Committee on May 11th. At that meeting, no changes resulted from that meeting. So the staff is recommending that you move in that the chair, Carlton Urban Renewal Chairperson Watkins sign resolution 2021-7 adopting the urban renewal budget for fiscal year FY22, making those appropriations and a declaration of tax increment. And a brief recap of that resolution, the total of that budget is $539,954. No transfers, the debt service payment for Meadow Lake, contingency of $45,000, capital outlay of $423,454. That'll be centered around downtown and underground and utilities. And if we don't spend it, it rolls over to the next year. And materials and services of $6,500, and that is for your audit, attorney fees, and any professional services. Is there any questions?
Okay, no questions, no comments. Let's see, do I need a motion?
Yes, you do.
Mayor, you need to close the public hearing before taking a motion.
Thank you, Walt. Okay, if there are no more questions, we will close the hearing. And is there a motion to approve this budget? Come on, you guys, need some help here.
I motion to approve the budget.
I'll second that.
Can I ask whether that motion is to approve Urban Renewal Agency Resolution number 2021-7 relating to the budget?
Yes.
And second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
All right, Counselor Maher, how do you vote?
Aye.
Counselor Egland.
Aye.
Counselor Erickson. Counselor Erickson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Counselor Brandeo.
Aye.
Counselor Skipper.
Aye.
Counselor Ward Mullen.
Aye.
And Mayor Watkins.
Aye.
All in favor, motion passes.
Okay, yes. So is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn the meeting. Oh, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. So we have until 7 o'clock. Okay, folks, it's 7 o'clock. And we're going to start this meeting of the, I guess it's the June meeting of the Carlton City Council. Amy, could you please call the roll?
Sure can. Counselor Maher,
I'm here.
Counselor Eglin,
I'm here.
Counselor Erickson,
Here,
Counselor Brandeo.
Here.
Thank you. Counselor Skipper,
Here.
Counselor Ward Mullen,
Here.
Mayor Watkins.
Here.
All accounted and present.
Okay, please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the
The
republic
Republic.
and one nation under God,
Indivisible.
with liberty and justice for all. Okay, are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Righty. In that case, we are going to open a public hearing. This is with regard to the, public hearing, there are two actual hearings. The first one is for the fiscal year 2021 state revenue sharing funds. And I guess we turn this over to Christy. You first start on the red box. Sorry, guys, they did give me a script. I lost it over here. Okay, so it is now 7:02 p.m. and I hereby call the public hearing of this Carlton City regarding council regarding resolutions 2021-310 and 311 and 312. Councilors, do you have any conflicts of interest or abstentions to declare regarding these resolutions? Hearing no conflicts, does staff wish to summarize the resolutions for the audience?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Watkins. The first one, resolution 2021-310, and that's declaring the city's election to receive the state revenues. This is required by the state of Oregon yearly. It was approved in the FY20 budget committee meeting. We're asking council that they approve and authorize the mayor to sign it, declaring the city's elections to receive these funds in fiscal year 2022. And staff is recommending, after the approval from the budget committee, that the state revenue funds go to the street fund as a source of revenue. That's 310. Then on 311, to receive the state revenues, we are in a county of a population over 100,000. So we must certify annually and demonstrate by resolution that we have 4 of the services, which we do. Police protection. The second one, fire protection, is not a service by the city, so it doesn't count. Number 3, we have street construction, maintenance, and lighting. And then the lighting is not done by the city, but the street construction and maintenance. Number 4, sanitary sewer. Number 5, the storm sewers. And number 6, planning, zoning, and subdivision control. And number 7, 1 or more utility services. So we are well past the 4 that are required. So staff is recommending that you authorize the mayor to sign resolution 2021-311, certifying the eligibility of the city of Carlton to receive the state revenue funds. And then the last one that is before you in this hearing is for the fiscal budget for FY22. It was approved by Budget Committee on May 11th. No changes are sought for. We're asking you to authorize the mayor to sign resolution 2021-312, adopting the FY22 city budget, making the appropriations, imposing and categorizing the tax The resolution shows it broke out by fund. And then on page 9, it shows the tax rate, which is 5.0098 per thousand. That is where we are limited. And then the bonded debt service, the 64,000 is for the pool debt. And that's a recap of the 3 budgets, Mayor Watkins.
All righty. Is there any discussion? Okay, at this time, I am opening this hearing to public testimony. If you wish to speak, please state your name and address clearly for the record regarding any of these 3 resolutions. Councilor Maher. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, this is public.
Yeah, I can wait.
Yeah, well, I'm getting, yeah. Okay. No public comment. Close public comment hearing. Yes. Okay, we are going to close the public comment portion of this hearing. Now we go to council comment.
We will start with the first resolution and work through the 3. That's all right, Mayor Watkins. So councilors will be looking for a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign 2021 declaring the city's election to receive state revenues in fiscal year 2022.
Okay, so this is only for
That one
resolution 2021-310.
I can do that.
Mayor, prior to proceeding with that motion, you need to close the public hearing with regard to the revenue sharing portion of the public hearing.
She did. Well, while she closed the
Did that? Okay, go ahead then.
Sorry, Walt, thanks. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve resolution number 2021-310 declaring the city's election to receive state revenues?
Yeah, I move we approve and authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2021-310, declaring the city's election to receive state revenues in the fiscal year 2022.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. I'm assuming we'll do a roll call vote, please.
All right. Counselor Maher, how do you vote?
Aye.
Counselor Eglin?
Aye.
Counselor Erickson?
Aye.
Counselor Brandale?
Aye.
Counselor Skipper?
Aye.
Counselor Ward Mullen?
Aye.
Mayor Watkins?
Aye.
7-0. Motion passes.
Okay.
So Mayor Watkins, the next one is going to be resolution 2021-311, certifying the eligibility of Carlton to receive state revenue funds. If you could entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
Okay. Do we have a motion from the council to approve resolution number 2021-311, certifying the city's eligibility to receive state revenues?
Sure, I'll make that motion. To approve and authorize, I move to approve and authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2021-311, certifying the eligibility of the city of Carlton to receive state revenue shared funds.
I'll second that one.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Counselor Maher?
Aye.
Counselor Eglin?
Aye.
Counselor Erickson?
Aye.
Counselor Brandale?
Aye.
Counselor Skipper?
Aye.
Counselor Ward Mullen?
Aye.
Mayor Watkins?
Aye.
All in favor, motion passes.
Okay, so we are now at resolution number 2021-312, adopting the fiscal year 2021 city budget. making appropriations and imposing and categorizing the tax. Do we have a motion?
Before I go to a motion, can we have comment on that?
Sure. Okay, yeah. Yes. Councilor Maher?
Yes, thank you. In light of this past year and the large number of projects we have on the table for this coming year, specifically, pardon me, those with large projects, Highway 47, the water projects, the sewer projects. I'm very concerned we're going to have a lot of unknowns when we begin to work on those. And I would like to make a motion or an adjustment to this budget and remove the City Hall as a new construction project, as well as the parking on that for under the facilities section. That would be page 23 in the packets. I just don't feel the time is right to continue with the City Hall project.
Thank you, Councilor Longhart. Can I speak to that? This is Christy.
Sure.
Okay, so the monies that is allocated currently is not designated just for City Hall as a new construction. It has monies in there for the parking lot required by the Planning Commission pending, and for the finish of the vehicle building. But those, the vehicle building you've already seen, the parking lot will come to council for approval. Those are goal numbers. That is not anything for at this point until it comes back to council to talk about City Hall, because it was, I believe, number 4 of your budget goals when you met in goal setting. So this will not obligate you to new construction, if that helps.
It doesn't really help because at the time we did our goal setting, we did discuss we would have the opportunity to relook at this, see where we stood in terms of our finances. And as long as the language is in there that City Hall is a construction project as a new building, I think it's a disservice to our voters that we have this in here. I just don't think the time is right for it. I know we have money spent for evaluating this project, but we also have money spent in terms of renovating the existing buildings. And it's a much easier piece of money to spend for our citizens to renovate what we have and look at this perhaps in another year or two.
Would it be
and I'd like to hear from my other counselors in terms of their thoughts on this particular one.
Councilor Erickson.
On this issue, I'm going to agree with Mullen that, yeah, the City Hall needs to stop. No more money spent on looking to building a new building somewhere. We've already spent money, furniture, painting, carpet, flooring, odds and ends in the existent current building. That building is fine for now. I'm not saying it's fine for the rest of our time. Someday, yes, we'll need to build a new City Hall, but right now let's quit spending so much money and energy on that particular project and move on and take care of other things. A few years ago, the people voted down the police building, and now I feel we're trying to, the police building is trying to be pushed in with the City Hall to get it all in one. I just think there's money can be spent elsewhere. For one, we have a big issue with water and sewer that needs to be taken care of prior to a City Hall building. We're okay with what we got for now. So I agree it needs to be stopped for at least a year or two.
Are there any comments, questions? Guillermo. Excuse me,
I was
Council.
just gonna say I was in the same boat of not doing anything with the city hall, but after speaking with the city manager, I think we need to. As far as repairing everything we have in the city hall, it doesn't seem like it's that easy of a process. It could cost a lot more than we would expect. And I think Christy can elaborate a little more on that, but I think it's not as easy as just repairing everything in the city hall and everything will be fine. I think it'll be much easier to just build a new city hall from what we have, and considering the low interest rate we have, will be much easier to do that and not have to worry about that for the future, instead of just pushing it along for a year or two.
Okay, Councilor Ward Mullen.
You know, I actually disagree very much with Councilor Maher and Councilor Erickson. However, as far as I knew, tonight was not going to be the night that we really discussed in detail all of the issues surrounding City Hall and what we're going to do, whether it's build a new City Hall, do the reinforcements of the building. There's so many factors at play here, and it's very involved. As far as the budget is concerned, it's a placeholder. It's not a time tonight that we have to make a decision on City Hall. But there's a lot that goes into this in terms of making that decision, and any kind of, and I actually just don't even want to get going on the subject tonight of whether we renovate or whether we build or whether we do nothing. You know, I think we need to put together a lot of information and have a full throated conversation about our path forward, whatever that might be. And I don't think tonight's the night for that. Because in the budget, it's a placeholder, that's all it is.
I'm sorry. I don't see any comments. Councilor Erickson.
So with adds of what Shirley just said, if it's a placeholder in the budget, so then why don't we just remove it from the budget at this point in time? And just then it's removed. We're not going to discuss it anymore, and then let it come back in other meetings when we can sit down and discuss, because what's been shown and proposed to the city council for the design of the building and everything they've been wanting to do, it's way over what the city of Carleton needs. They need to scale it back quite a bit.
Okay, now we're getting into some weeds here that before we go any further, Christy, would you?
Yes.
Let's let Christy.
So if it would make council more comfortable, as the city hall discussion is coming up in July, you could entertain a motion approving the budget as is, but that it is subject to discussion for City Hall before any monies are spent. It has to come before City Council. And that way the City Council can determine their path forward.
The benefit of that approach is that the budget document often reflects the goals established by council. So it allows for that discussion to continue to take place, since it was a high priority for council to at least have that discussion. So it allows for that discussion to continue, but it does not say that we are building a new city hall.
Okay. Do we have a motion? We can do a motion as it's written here that would adopt the fiscal year 2021 city budget, making appropriations and imposing categorizing tax, basically as you see it in your packet. Or we can make a motion that includes that and also uses the wording, help me out here,
that any city hall renovations or new construction goes before council for decision before monies are spent.
Which is what we have to do.
I do feel like we had that language essentially in place previously, and it was a little bit too broad, and we continued down a path. Yes, we have a lot of new people in play here today. But leaving it generic and open means it's still a topic of discussion. And I think it needs to be removed this year. Maybe others feel differently.
Councilor President Ward Mullen.
I completely disagree with, I mean, with all due respect, I completely disagree with that. I think we have a lot of discussion about not just, I mean, building a new city hall, but what we are going to do with those structures in light of emergency preparedness, et cetera. You know, there's all the factors. I mean, you had the chief here talking about fire. I don't want to get into all of it now, but there's a lot to discuss. Not to mention that we have already paid $350,000 for architectural plans. So explain that to the voters.
Can we make a motion? Can we? Yes, Grant. Yeah.
So wasn't it at prior, I mean, I've come in and kind of getting caught up here at prior city council meetings, the building of City Hall, the architecture they designed and came back, and city council was kind of awestrucken that they were presented something that they were unaware of.
The council design was, the design was significantly changed from what we had seen at the beginning, yes. And we put a halt on the city hall project for that reason. That halt has been in place since for a year now. And let's see, what we put into the budget here and what we approved in the budget during the budget meeting was that the city hall would be included in there, and actually you could almost put the question mark behind it of what are we going to do about city hall. It's written a little bit differently, entitled a little bit differently in our budget, but that's the basic question, is that we need to come to some resolution about this at some point. I think probably the solution that Christy gave us for looking at modifying the title of the resolution would give us that option to know that we are not just running into building a city hall, but that we do need to have some more conversation, both with the people, the citizens in the town, and with the city council for what we want to do and how we want to best do that. It doesn't, what she's suggesting just gives us the opportunity to keep that in there and to keep that discussion on the front burner instead of allowing it to go by the wayside. Council President Ward Mullen.
It's my recollection last year at the budget meeting that we put a stay on proceeding with the City Hall project based on the fact, which actually was my initiative, because we were in the throes of the pandemic and we did not know at that point in time how our city was going to be economically impacted. Yes, there was the issue of the design that came back and the lack of communication, et cetera. But, you know, I think the driving force at the time in terms of putting a hold on it was the fact that our financial future was uncertain due to the pandemic.
Councilor Erickson.
So with that, Shirley, yes, you said there was like 300,000 spent of a design that at the time city council was unaware of.
No.
No,
We, meaning our prior council, approved the architectural agreement with Holst Architecture. And they started proceeding with architectural plans, and which from the very beginning, all the way through to a change in design. We have paid Holst Engineering $350,000.
correct. But when it came back to you at city council, were you a little bit awestruck of what was presented to you, that you were a little bit out of the loop in communication?
Well, that's a totally separate topic, about that aspect of it, but I'm just talking about what was paid, I mean, from the very beginning, and it was approved by the council to enter into this agreement and proceed. So, so the fact of coming back to us with a new design is a kind of a separate conversation. There's a lot of details that need to be filled in here, Grant, that we're not, I'm certainly not prepared tonight to talk about in detail, but there's a lot to be considered by this council in terms of, having these buildings be adequate for the function and the services that the city of Carlton needs to offer.
Councilor Maher.
I think that in terms of money spent and having an unpredictable financial future as we did last year with COVID, we're not completely out of COVID. We are better off, but we have a lot of unforeseen expenditures with these major projects coming up. We do not know what's going to happen when they start tearing up some of these pipes. And I think that concern is still with us today.
Councilor Skipper, Councilor Eglin, do you have any comments or thoughts on this? Councilor Skipper. You're not mute, you're still muted.
All right. Yeah, I wasn't prepared tonight to discuss City Hall. And so I do think everybody still has their concerns and what path we move forward. Absolutely, me included in that. I just feel like if we have that option that Christy gave us to make sure no money is spent on it until it goes before us again, so we can have those discussions versus removing it from the budget completely, I think is a kind of a good balance. Obviously, the council seems a little bit kind of divided on the issue, but I feel like that's a good point to come together to where if no money can be spent without it coming before us again, it kind of becomes a little bit easier, at that point.
Councilor Eglin.
I think with 4 new council members on board, it might be nice to have a discussion again on the City Hall, although I agree that we should have no more money spent until we come to some agreement.
Okay. Councilor Ward Millen.
No, I have a question on that for Christy. The fact that this is in the budget, even though that it's in the budget, is it not true that we cannot spend, or the city cannot spend any more money on this project unless it's authorized by the council?
That is factual.
Well, then I don't know the point of this exercise.
Okay, we need a motion. I think we need to call the discussion and call a motion. So you have a choice. It's resolution number 2021-312, adopting the fiscal year budget, or approve that resolution number 2021-312 with the caveat that no further action will be taken on the City Hall building until a full discussion of the council has been held. I need a motion.
Okay, I'll make the motion. I move that we approve and authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2021-312, adopting the fiscal year 2021-22 city budget, making appropriations and imposing and categorizing the tax, including or with no further action taken until further discussion with the council.
And if I can clarify that, I think the clarification is that with no further expenditures for city hall, new construction capital expenditures without further discussion and authorization by the city council.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I will second it as stated by Councilor Eglund.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please, Amy.
Sure. Councilor Maher, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilor Eglund?
Aye.
Councilor Erickson?
Aye.
Councilor Brandao?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilor Skipper?
Aye.
Councilor Ward Mullen?
Aye.
Mayor Watkins?
Aye.
All in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you, folks. Okay. I'm trying to figure out where I am. It's on the second page. I know. First one there. Thank you. There it is. Okay, now, and I appreciate all of you for your comments tonight. Thank you very much. Seriously. Do we have any citizen comments? This is the time when our agenda allows for citizens to address the city council. If you have any comments, please use the raise hand or let us know. Looking pretty quiet out there tonight. Thank you. And this is for items on the agenda or not on the agenda. Do we have folks for either one? No. Okay. All right, announcements, reports, and presentations. Do we have anything coming in?
Not this time.
Okay. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second it. Go ahead, Councilor Brandao.
Okay, I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion's carried. Thank you. Consent agenda has been approved. All righty. We are down to number 5, the ordinance presentation, discussion, and potential action items. First one up is resolution number 2021-313, updating the master fee schedule.
Yes, Mayor Watkins, staff is recommending that council approve and authorize you to sign resolution 2021-313, updating the master fee schedule, revising the fees and charges for the city of Carlton. This is a yearly task list that we do. The master fee list which you have is available on our website. SDCs have a cost of living of 1.8%. Utility billing is water rate of 2% plus cost of living. Sewer rate is 12%, including the cost of living. And then it gives you the SDCs on the memo and the utility rate changes. There were some additional edits that were on page 2 We changed the business license past due to 50 to be in line with our sister cities. And it reflects our city code currently written. It just was an edit that was not changed. And then in the public records request, the first 30 minutes is free and it's charged in 30-minute increments after that. We've added postage for fees as we were mailing a lot of these things certified and we weren't capturing that before. And then in the SDC system development charges, we added a 5/8 1-inch meter and put that varies on meter size and property use. And then to contact City Hall, there's different charges for SDCs. And then utility billing, and one that came up a couple times was the meter tampering fee. So there's a difference level of tampering with the meter and cutting off the lock to ripping the head off or to cutting the pipe up line to change the metering. Yes, all these things happened this year. So at this point, it's a base fee and we're saying additional charges will be applied if we have to do further repair. Unauthorized connection fee, we had a couple of those. Additional fees may apply depending on how they got to that connection. And then Resolution 81, we can charge the responsible party for all these tampering for personnel, equipment, vehicles, materials, supplies. That language has been added, it wasn't there. And then there was more on the rate, just kind of cleaning up some language. So the rate changes are mostly on page one.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve resolution number 2021-313, updating the master fee schedule? Gonna start making this happen here. I need a motion, folks.
I'll make a motion that council approve and authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2021-313, updating the master fee schedule, revising fees and charges for the city of Carlton with the rates included in the adoption of the FY22 budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Okay. Counselor Maher,
Aye.
Counselor Eglund,
Aye.
Counselor Erickson,
Aye.
Counselor Brandau,
Aye.
Counselor Skipper,
Aye.
Counselor Ward-Mullen,
Aye.
Mayor Watkins.
Aye.
All in favor, motion passes.
Moving along to resolution number 2021-314, fiscal year 2021 budget adjustments.
Thank you, Mayor Watkins. This is the meeting where I have to talk a lot. Well, actually last one too, but then you won't hear from me for a year. So resolution 2021-314 budget adjustments. This is a housekeeping item. We had 2 incidents that came up that we needed to use money from the contingency, one in the water fund, one in the general fund. This is not a fiscal adjustment. This is a budget adjustment. So there is no fiscal impact. And the first one is in regards on page 158 is we anticipated selling the property 156 East Monroe at the end of last fiscal year, but it crossed over into this year. So there were no budget appropriations for carrying that debt service. So this is just taking money out of not money, moving money out of contingency. I'm saying that wrong, but and allowing for us to pay that debt service as the loan is being paid off this year. And then the other one is with the ice storm We had a big difference in the water, sewer, and street fund actually, but water fund was tight from some other things. This is just a carry it, and it is 30,000, but if this is it with FEMA right now. So FEMA takes a while. We probably won't see proceeds back from that, but this is just a move from appropriations to contingencies to material services for water fund, and that's it for the year.
Do we have a motion to approve resolution number 2021-314, FY 2021 budget adjustments?
I make a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2021-314, authorizing budget adjustments for fiscal year 2021.
I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Do we need roll call vote for all these?
You can try saying yay and nay. It's usually just for clarification, but I'm fine with trying that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Right.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you. And that brings us to McMinnville Water and Light Agreement.
Thank you, Mayor Watkins. In front of you is the proposed water purchase agreement. This is a temporary agreement for while we are doing the dredging on the water reservoir. At 4:30 this afternoon, I received a couple of minor changes to section 5.11 and 5.12, where they changed the language to not include the W-2 rate schedule. They thought it might be confusing. It does not change the rates. It just does not include that schedule at this point in time. We did have some concerns in going through this agreement, and we were working with McMinnville Water and Light on some of those concerns. That is why I had Jordan Ramus write the cover letter that you see in your packet, noting that while we are offline during this dredging project, that they are our sole source for water during this period of time. This is a necessary agreement. McMinnville Water and Light is utilizing the agreement they have with the city of Lafayette as a model for this. Any additional negotiations, we certainly would do should we seek a permanent arrangement with McMinnville Water and Light as far as water service and delivery. And I do have Keenan here from Jordan Ramus to answer any questions you have throughout this as we have negotiated throughout this process. And first, I just want to give the council an opportunity. Councilor Skipper, did you want to say something before we move forward on this item?
Yes, thanks, Shannon. While I don't have a conflict of interest or financial benefit from any of this agreement, I am an employee with McMinnville Water and Light. And so I intend to abstain from voting and not participate in any discussion on this topic.
Thank you, Councilor Skipper. Is there any discussion or question on this agreement?
Yes.
Council President Ward Mullen.
Yes, I have several, I've been through this agreement and I have several concerns, and I'm hoping that Mr. Bacalian can answer my questions here. First of all, just as a side note, I've found the agreement to be very one-sided, but be that as it may. I'm concerned about the definition of sole discretion that's in section 1.12 and its possible implications. And this definition term is referenced in several sections, 2.1.4, 2.2, 3.2, and 9.9. And wondering if you can address these sections and whether we should be concerned that there's the lack of remedy. because that's what the definition of sole discretion is. We have no remedy.
Good evening, President Ward Mullen. For the record, I am Keenan Norton McCallion, attorney with Jordan Ramus. Appreciate you guys having me here tonight. So I got your questions earlier this morning as well, so I've had some time to look through them. We also forwarded them to Gordon Monroe of Tetra Tech, who is our, I guess, technical consultant on this project. So I have his input with me as well. So regarding your first question on sole discretion, it's first defined in section 1.12. It plays both ways to both parties here. But I do think that, you know, we obviously did have some concerns with this, and I think you're right to be concerned, to be quite frank. This agreement does provide McMinnville Water and Light a lot of authority to make decisions in their sole discretion, which may not be for the benefit of Carleton. Particularly, it pertains to the sections you referenced regarding curtailment. So I guess there's a lot of different strings that attach on this agreement, but I guess I would say for the most part, the sole discretion provisions do pertain to when MWL can curtail you basically on their own with their own decision. You can be curtailed at a different rate from other MWL customers because they're not defining you as a customer within this agreement. As you noted, the agreement's for surplus water and not a permanent water supply. That's something that we pushed pretty heavily on during negotiations to get an uninterruptible essential increment, if you will, for fire, life, and safety. And that's just unfortunately not something that MWL was willing to agree to or even negotiate with us on. So do you want me to go through each section individually here?
I mean, you can, but, you know, I mean, I think you've answered the question regarding, I mean, basically, they're not willing to negotiate with us. And you know, really the bottom line for me and my concern with this is that in light of the fact of the potential for drought, for the potential for fire, as Chief Lusich pointed out, I mean, there's sort of all these things hanging out there that we hope never happen, but it could impact this agreement and our supply for water. So that's sort of what drives my concerns.
Mm-hmm. And I think those are valid concerns because, like I noted before, we were unable to negotiate an essential uninterruptible increment in this regard. So this agreement is for surplus water. Based off of what Gordon said, the reservoirs are full right now. You do have a good flow rate provided with the 750,000 gallons per day. But unfortunately, considering level 1 curtailment has to be a possibility here. If there is something that happens, like you noted, MWO very well could shut off the city prior to shutting off its own customers. And, you know, these are all things we called out in the agreement way back in February, you know, even earlier than that. And we sent significant, very clear revisions to MWL's council. They considered them, but unfortunately MWL was not in a position to agree to basically any of them.
Yeah, okay. The other section 2.4, Carleton agrees to no liability for damages for a variety of reasons, including events caused by equipment failure or mistakes of judgment. And mistakes of judgment seems very overbroad to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just...
So I guess here's my perspective on this. And Gordon shares this perspective as well. Mistakes of judgment does appear more times than it probably should in this agreement. But it would be difficult for them to actually cause any damage to the city system. You have your flow control valves within the city's fence, and it's under your control. So you get to control the flow coming to, you know, City of Carleton water customers in that regard. So you have a level of defense there. And I think the second thing to consider also is that if there was an impact to water quality, it would impact MWL's customers as well. So it's actually a significant concern for MWL themselves. They would move pretty quickly to resolve that. So I guess not to say that there isn't an instance where the city could be impacted, but I think both Gordon and I are comfortable in that regard that it would be difficult for them to cause any actual harm to the city.
Okay. And then I was just wondering if you could speak to section 3.6, risk of water delivery. I just had some concerns about that.
So my understanding is the city regulates its own water pressure. both through its treated water reservoirs and the city system itself. So the pressure itself wouldn't change during the delivery process. There's little possibility of damage in that regard. Again, there's an impact that could occur to the city's pipes due to the chemistry of the water, but that would be a very long process. And based on my understanding of this agreement, it's short term. Once your water treatment improvement project's completed, you'll go back to your own city water. So that's really what section 3.6 discusses, is the kind of harm that could occur when MWL is delivering water to the city. Again, this is one I'm less concerned with. I think there are concerns we have with this agreement, primarily the first question you raised, but these two, I think we're comfortable with these. Ultimately, of course, it's your decision.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really the only alternative, right? I mean,
I think that's really what it boils down to here,
Yeah, I mean,
unfortunately, is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for your responses. I appreciate that.
You had one other question, it looks like, on section 12.2, the dispute resolution.
Oh, yeah, I was curious about how that overlaps and differs from sole discretion.
So sole discretion, like I said, it kind of turns both ways here. The city can make actions in its sole discretion that are, I guess, unreviewable by the MWL. MWL can make decisions in their sole discretion the same way that the city can't challenge. I think if the city, or if MWL was to act in its sole discretion under one of the provisions you noted in your first question, that's not something where you could raise notice and say that you had a significant concern with it because it's provided for in the terms of the agreement. Doesn't mean the city wouldn't have a remedy, but under section 12.2, which is it deals with dispute resolution, but it first tries to resolve disputes through informal notice and collaboration. That's not something that would be subject to this. So I think, like you said earlier, it really does boil down to the fact that the city's in an inequitable bargaining position here. MWL has proposed a one-sided agreement in a lot of respects, but there isn't a lot of other options for the city at this point. I think the cover letter does a good job of laying out our concerns, but ultimately we tried to resolve these with MWL's counsel. They were reasonable amendments, and unfortunately MWL just didn't decline to adopt them. So,
well, I appreciate you providing all this information.
Sure.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay. So what action do we need to do here? Do we need to approve the signing of this?
Once it is finalized, right now, as we noted at 4:30 today, we had some small non-substantive changes. And so I think there might be a couple more of those. So the motion being requested is that once it is finalized, that the mayor be authorized to sign this agreement. It will go to the McMinnville Water and Light Commission on June 15th.
Okay, but if there's anything substantive that comes in here,
It would come back.
to us. Okay, so do we have a Councilor Maher?
Do we have a start date for this agreement? Is it based on our construction date, it would seem?
So the start date for this agreement is when it's executed by both parties. We are looking at we're advertising the bid documents with the caveat that we are waiting for one permit from the Army Corps of Engineers. We hope to have everything in alignment, including having bids that are open and being available for approval at the council's July meeting. And then based upon that and the contractor's ability to mobilize, we would start taking water in July, late July or August.
Okay, thank you.
All righty, we need a motion to approve this.
I move that we approve the agreement with McMinnville Water and Light.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hi.
Aye. Thank you. Right. Oh. and
Mayor,
we
for the
need a-
record, just the record should note that Councilmember Skipper abstained in connection with this vote.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along here. COVID updates. Cool.
Thank you, Mayor Watkins. There are a couple of overarching developing situations with the pandemic that are occurring right now. As the mayor and council are aware, we have two metrics that counties in the state are looking at. The county, if they get to a 65% vaccination rate, can move into a permanent low risk. There's also another plan that has to be put into play. As of last week, we are about 4 weeks out from reaching that 65% in the county. However, the other metric is a statewide metric that is 70% of people in the state of Oregon receive at least one dose of the vaccine, that Oregon will lift, is being considered that Oregon will lift all risk level health and safety restrictions. So there will no longer be a low, moderate, or high risk level. There may be some other restrictions based upon CDC guidance that remain in place. Obviously, these impact considerations like the pool. We originally came to council stating that if we were at low risk, we would open up the pool. If the 70% is reached statewide in the next couple of weeks, we could be looking at not even having a low risk category, but it would just be opened up. So I wanted to let Amy explain some of the work that we have gone into about scheduling and trying to prepare for these competing scenarios that are going on and how they may impact and how we're trying to plan for these impacts. We're not sure when they're going to occur.
Thank you. So we've been planning to, if we do open, the programming at the pool, the scheduling would be accommodated by only doing a public swim. We would not have the swim lessons. We wouldn't have lap swim. We wouldn't have family swim. We wouldn't have reservations. All of those would make it difficult to control social distancing and any other kinds of traffic flow and patterns in and out of the pool house. So by only doing a public swim, we can break it up in 3-hour increments starting from 11 to 2 and then closing for an hour, giving the guards plenty of time to do enhanced cleaning and for 30-40 minutes, and then also having a lunch break. They would reopen around 3 and go till 6 p.m. for another 3-hour increment. And then at 6 o'clock, they would close, re-clean and enhance cleaning, and then close for the evening. Saturday, there is potential of an additional session for a couple hours, maybe from 7 to 9 in that window if need be, depending on demand of pool use. But by allowing 3-hour increments, we can allow the maximum number of people in per CDC guidelines, as well as meeting the needs of the community. And then we can close, sanitize, and allow another set of or group of children and families in. Doing this, we feel like we can balance the COVID guidelines as well as the needs of the community for access to the pool. It is just today alone, I think we counted 15 or 16 phone calls from community members wanting to know if the pool was open. Since I've been here, that's an all-time high.
Amy, could you also speak to the lifeguard situation and the number of applicants we've received?
Just like the other pools in the area, Newburgh and McMinnville, hiring guards has been a struggle. Filling the position has been tight. So right now we have been working on getting them certified. The Red Cross has not had a whole lot of opportunities in the off season for them to get certified. The closest is being in Portland. And as many of our guards are teenagers, that makes it difficult or appealing for a guard to get certified. So we are bringing certification to them We've got our pool ready and cleaned, and Public Works has done a great job getting it ready. And we are working with Newburgh Aquatic Center, and they have a certified instructor that's willing to come to us and work and get our 7 guards that we have on staff certified. So they will be ready as soon as the CDC guidelines or the governor's orders allow us to open. So we've been working hand in hand with other aquatic centers to kind of team up, because honestly, if we get guards certified in the off season, they can work at their establishments as well. So it's kind of a partnership that we're working with them.
Is there with this any, if the governor, if we reach the 70% and they take off all the controls that they've got, does that mean that we would be opening the pool like we would normally open it, or what does that do to?
Obviously, this is changing. As much as it was changing as we went into the pandemic, it's changing daily as we're coming
Yeah.
out of the pandemic. But it does appear, at least right now, that capacity limitations might be completely removed. But we don't know that for sure. We're having to adjust. And it's one thing I would ask the council. We recognize it's going to be very frustrating for our constituents and our citizens and the community as a whole. And so just understanding we're trying to adjust the best we can within the limitations we have and the resources we have of helping answer those questions for citizens would be helpful.
And Mayor Watkins, even if all restrictions are done, we have a low number of guards, so we would still have restricted hours, even with a free.
How many guards do we usually have?
It's ranged anywhere from 10 to 20. So this
Really?
year is very low,
Yeah.
very low to that.
No idea. Does anybody have any questions?
Mayor Watkins, the other thing that's
Councilor Brandell.
I just had a comment. It come to my attention that some people in the community were using the pool as a daycare, essentially. And I would like to propose some type of limitation there to close that loophole, so we don't have a free daycare in the pool. Because we, as a city, we lose money in the pool when it's open. And if we are providing essentially daycare for people to stay there the whole day for kids, we are subsidizing those. And I would like to somehow close that loophole, either with maybe requiring parents to be there at the pool when kids are there, or something like. But
So, this year is going to be different. Typically in other summers, I think what you're referring to, they buy a pool pass and they basically live there. This year, we will be closing it every 3 hours and they will have to repay to go in. There will be no pool passes, so that we can make sure that all kids have an opportunity to use the pool in the limited hour capacity.
Councilor Monaro. Excuse me.
We did discuss that we operate the pool at a loss with these restricted hours and attendance. What are we anticipating losing for the season?
30,000.
Councilor Erickson.
So kind of what Gary was saying,
We've lost you. You have no voice.
how about now?
There we go.
You know I have a voice, Linda. Anyway, so it sounds like the pool's gonna be open for like a 3-hour segment, right? That's kind of what I'm hearing it. And in that 3-hour segment, you're only allowed X number of people per the governor or per the rules. So do people need to email, text, call, sign up for a particular time slot that they're only allowed to be there for?
Ideally, they will be lining up outside like they normally do. They could choose to stay, like our normal public swim session, they can choose to stay for the whole 3 hours, or they can leave sooner if they would so choose. The guards and the staff in the office, the front lobby, they do keep a tally of how many people come and how many people go. It will be even more regulated with COVID. We can, with social distancing, we'll have the doors, a bouncer, so to speak, letting people in and out to even double check our numbers. So we could potentially have kids come in at the middle of a session, come in, pay, and go swim for 1.5 hours, allowing more kids in as long as other kids have left. This is normal practice and standard that we've done in the past. So we are allowing more kids to come in and access the pool and still meet all standards for capacity.
And there's 2 sessions per day.
Yep.
So with that, like Jeremy was saying, person could show up, drop their kid off at the pool. I don't know when time the pool opens. We'll say it opens at 10 o'clock. They leave them there for 3 hours and come back and pick them up.
Depending
Basically,
on the age.
That's what?
Children 8 and younger cannot be accompanied, must be accompanied with an adult in the pool.
And that will be governed by the staff at the pool to make sure that a parent or guardian is there?
Correct.
Okay.
Counselor Skipper.
Thank you. Just appreciate staff's working behind the scenes to make this happen if we can. I know everything's changing. So I wanted to say that appreciation for them on doing all the hard work. But real quickly, Christy mentioned that there will be no pool passes, which I can understand. What does that do for the rates? I know we adopted the fees, the master fees. So I guess a 2-part question. Does everybody pay the same rate, both residents and non-residents? And then the second part of my question is, I know it, and not to make the job incredibly more difficult, but I do feel as residents who are paying for the pool, you know, I don't necessarily, I feel like they should maybe take priority, because I know the pool is a popular destination for a lot of out of town people also. And not that I don't love the fact that they come to visit Carlton and do that, but has that been discussed about how residents can take some sort of priority if we are limited in numbers?
So we have discussed the rates. We have landed on $2, no matter what the age, unless you're 2 and under.
2 and under was free, and
2,
18 and under was $2.
$2, and then
Adults were $3.
and adults are $3. We have not determined the outside rates yet. There will be outside rates. They are increased. We know our neighboring communities are for adults between 5 and 7 for their in-town. So we're trying to keep the rates low for our kids. And I do understand that it's the residents inside the city limits that does pay the general obligation bond and the tax for that pool. And we usually separate that by a financial cost. We have not discussed the limitation on capacity if they're an out-of-town resident. So that's something we could get back to.
Commissioner Eglin. Counselor Eglin.
Oh, I just like to say the same thing that Kevin said, that I appreciate you guys thinking outside the box and making it hopefully available for our kids this summer, understanding it's so difficult in this environment, but the kids love it, and it's an awesome place for kids to be and to stay safe.
Thank you.
Is there anything for anybody to add, or any more questions or discussion?
If there's not any more on the pool, the only thing that else has come to my attention that falls within the COVID is there's been several inquiries about holding in-person council meetings. I would like some direction on council about that.
Counselor Randall.
I guess my question is, do we have a due date for when we're gonna open the pool? Or are we just gonna wait until forever? Like, when is the last day that we're gonna be thinking about this pool? Because it seems like every council meeting we talked about it, and we're still at the same point that we are at high risk in the county. Like, when are we gonna stop talking about the pool is my question.
So we were hoping to be in low risk by now. We're hoping that in 2 weeks we have a direction. We have a tentative date of the 3rd week of June. And if that does not happen, then we're gonna have to make a decision. We're just taking it day by day. We don't even have an answer for the people calling about the pool, but we're being driven by the state of Oregon and our insurance carrier at this point. But I understand that we keep bringing it back. We just can't stay ahead of the changes.
So pretty much 3rd week of June, and if there isn't some resolution, then we're just gonna pull the plug.
Probably we have to let those kids go when we only have 8, I think, or
8 total
Yeah.
kids.
yeah.
Okay. So that's somebody we have to. On to the question that the city manager just brought up about meeting in person for the city council. Do we have any thoughts or comments on this? Councilor Skipper.
I personally would be in favor of meeting in council chambers with the possibility of those who are not comfortable to be able to still attend in Zoom if that's possible.
Okay. Council President Ward Mullen.
I'm very much in favor of us going back to meetings in person as soon as it is possible. With the caveats that Kevin mentioned, for those who, for various reasons, don't feel comfortable attending. But I think as a body that we should strive to go back to in-person sessions as soon as we can.
Councilor Randall.
Are we talking just the council, or are we talking the public as well?
Probably just council. We would keep the public on Zoom for the time being.
Okay. I'm in favor as long as we are all vaccinated.
Okay. Councilor Erickson. You have your hand up?
Yeah, I'm in favor. We need to get back into one room altogether. I just think it's a better meeting that way.
Okay. Rather say no.
Okay, it sounds like we're moving in the direction. We need to make sure that we have the technology available to be able to capture all of you on video that are in the room. And so that the public can see you talking. And we will move forward in that direction for July.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks. We're at the end of the agenda. Does anybody have any last? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Any last words? Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn this evening's session.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, guys.